Persona Q2 is a dungeon-crawling RPG that combines the deep strategy of the Etrian Odyssey series with the unforgettable characters, aesthetic, and themes of the Persona universe. The story begins with the cast of Persona 5 finding themselves trapped in a mysterious movie theater where they're forced to explore dungeons themed around various films. These films act as elaborate labyrinths, each reflecting unique genres like superhero flicks, disaster movies, and noir mysteries, and along the way you'll come into contact with various characters from the Persona series, creating a crossover that'll no doubt please fans of the franchise. Now, the biggest draw of the game for myself and no doubt many others is the fantastic combat system, which plays out in a turn-based fashion, with each of the characters being able to equip both a main and sub-persona, allowing you to take advantage of a diverse set of skills and the ability to customize your party to fit your playstyle. As with the mainline games, the battles require careful planning, as exploiting enemy weaknesses grants additional turns while keeping your party's health and SP reserves in check. But what really makes them shine though is the addition of the unison attack mechanic, which triggers when certain characters bond through story events and allows you to carry out a series of devastating attacks that are visually spectacular and provide a real sense of camaraderie between your party members. As one of the last major releases for the Nintendo 3DS, Persona Q2 felt like a real swan song for the system, and a great example of what it was capable of when it was in the hands of the right developers. Project Cross Zone 2 is a tactical RPG that brings characters together from a huge variety of beloved franchises and expands upon the crossover formula of the original in several ways. First up, the story is a huge highlight, and the interactions between characters from vastly different worlds are often hilarious and heartfelt, making for an experience that feels both light-hearted but grand in its scope. The gameplay itself builds upon the foundation of its predecessor, offering turn-based tactical combat with a unique action-driven twist. Each battle is an exciting mix of strategy and fast-paced combo execution where timing and positioning are crucial to your success. The crossover attacks and team combinations are easily some of the best moves in the game and create a sense of synergy that is incredibly satisfying to pull off. And with so many characters available, the game encourages you to mix it up and experiment with different pairings that often have explosive results. One of the game's biggest draws though has to be the sheer amount of content it comes along with a lengthy campaign, countless unlockable characters, and replayability through additional challenges. The game offers hours upon hours of entertainment and rewards those who are willing to delve deeper into the mechanics and go that extra mile. Now, visually, Project Cross Zone 2 offers some of the best sprite work you'll see on the 3DS, and the character animations are fluid and expressive, bringing iconic heroes and villains from Capcom, Sega, and Bandai Namco to life in spectacular fashion. The attention to detail in the design combined with the vibrant battle effects make each encounter feel like an epic showdown that never fails to impress. With its addictive gameplay, charming story, and star-studded cast, this is one game you do not want to miss. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon is shining examples of how a developer can refine and expand on an already awesome game. One of its greatest strengths is the abundance of new content and features, which build on the already robust gameplay of Sun and Moon with improved features and entirely new mechanics that make revisiting the Alola region an absolute blast. Its tropical landscapes, diverse biomes, and culturally rich towns feel alive and immersive, and the region's charm is amplified by subtle yet meaningful changes from the original games, making it the best way to experience this iteration of the series. As is tradition in the franchise, you take up the role of a Pokemon trainer who's out to catch them all, and over the course of the adventure you'll be building a team of formidable Pokemon to use in battle, who each come along with their own elemental affinities and range of attacks that make each encounter a truly strategic affair. At its core, it adheres to the classic turn-based formula that has defined Pokemon since its inception, but what makes Ultra Sun and Moon stand out is how this foundation is enriched with modern features, quality of life improvements, and expanded options that elevate battles to new heights. One of them is known as Z moves that offer the player a devastating amount of damage to carry out and can turn the tide of a battle in the blink of an eye. Provided your Pokemon is holding a Z crystal, they can unleash one of them per battle, but they're not only about raw power, as many of them provide aid instead, such as boosting your stats or healing you altogether. For fans of Pokemon, everyone, these games are essential and were a fitting send-off for the 3DS era. With their vibrant worlds, engaging battles, and endless replayability, they're easily some of the best games in the franchise to date. The 3DS wasn't really well known for its abundance of shoot-em-ups, with only a handful of them appearing on the system, and Kairos was one of the more inventive to release, which blended classic bullet hell gameplay with RPG mechanics and a distinctive sense of style that could call its own. It's basically the successor to the arcade and Dreamcast original, and at its core the game retains the intense, fast-paced action fans of the genre crave, but it also introduces a robust progression system that adds plenty of depth and replayability. As you progress through the game's missions, you earn experience points and currency that can be used to upgrade your ship's weapons, armor, and shields. These upgrades are crucial for tackling the increasingly challenging stages, and they allow for a level of customization that's rarely seen in the genre. You can tailor your loadout to suit your playstyle, whether you prefer focusing on firepower, defense, or a balanced approach, and the controls are smooth and responsive, ensuring that every dodge, attack, and maneuver feels precise. The variety of weapons, ranging from standard shots to melee attacks and special abilities, adds a great amount of depth to the gameplay, and with each of the missions being bite-sized in nature, it's absolutely perfect for playing in short bursts on the go. Now, one of the first things you'll notice about the game is its striking artistic visuals that give it a truly unique identity, with the minimalistic design allowing you to focus on the action and stay in the fight. Overall, it may not be one of the console's most well-known titles, but it's undoubtedly one of its best hidden gems that's truly worth a go for fans of the genre and for anyone that's looking for a new shoot-em-up to play. Dead Heat Breakers is an intriguing mix of action and driving gameplay that delivers one of the most unique games you'll find on the 3DS. Set in a dystopian, post-apocalyptic world where anthropomorphic animals and humans work together to combat an invasion of robots known as the Wolf Pack, it's your job to fight back, and the game masterfully blends several genres together, such as third-person action, tower defense, and racing, but it never feels muddled or disjointed. Instead, the various elements work together perfectly to keep the gameplay fresh and engaging. The racing segments are by far one of the best aspects of the game, which see you facing off with enemies in Mad Max style races and slamming into your targets in order to take them out. Bringing all of these different gameplay styles together is the hub world, and whether you're taking on side quests to earn resources, upgrading your gear, or simply exploring the quirky little town, there's always something to do. Occupying this space are a lovable cast of NPCs that add a huge amount of charm to the game, and these smaller moments of downtime help break up the minute-to-minute action and flesh out the world in a meaningful way. Now, when it comes to visuals, the post-apocalyptic world is brought to life with vibrant colours, detailed textures, and imaginative character designs, with the 3D effect being subtle but adding depth to the environment, making the action sequences far more immersive. The animations, especially during combat and races, are smooth and dynamic, even during some of the more chaotic moments throughout its runtime. Dead Heat Breakers flew well under the radar for many players, and it's a real shame, as it's absolutely bursting with creativity and heart, and is easily one of the most unique games available on the 3DS. Rocket Slime is a spin-off of the popular Dragon Quest series of RPGs, and instead offers a completely different take on the usual setup of the games that came before it. Leaving behind the grand adventures of old, players take control of Rocket, a cheerful slime, as he sets out to protect his friends in the peaceful kingdom of Slimenia after it's invaded by the Plot, a gang of mischievous pirates. Now, the gameplay is where Rocket Slime shines, and it all revolves around one simple ability that sees you being able to stretch yourself like a rubber band to launch at enemies or objects, a mechanic that serves as both an attack and a way to interact with the environment. Rocket can also hold up to 3 items at a time, whether they're treasure chests, bad guys, slimes, or items, and throughout each level you'll find lots of train tracks and carts going by. If you throw an item onto one of these carts, it'll end up going back to your town, and as you progress your town will grow, which allows you to unlock shops, libraries, and museums for your troubles. One of the game's standout features though is its dynamic ship battles, which take the large-scale tank combat from Rock Slime 2 and reimagine it for the high seas. Players can customize their ship, recruit crew members, and engage in intense naval combat against enemy pirate vessels, and the battles require a mix of strategy, timing, and quick thinking as players fire cannons, fend off boarding enemies, and even launch themselves onto enemy ships to wreak havoc. While it may not appeal to those seeking a traditional Dragon Quest RPG, its humor, creativity, and charm make it a must-play for fans of the series and newcomers alike. The Fire Emblem series has long been the gold standard when it comes to tactical RPGs, and Shadows of Valentia is no exception. Originally released as Fire Emblem Gaiden in 1992 on the Famicom, it's essentially a remake that integrates many of the mechanics of later games and breathes new life into the second entry in the franchise. Now, one of its best aspects is the narrative, which follows the intertwined fates of Alm and Celica, who were once childhood friends and find themselves on opposite sides of a huge conflict. It's rich in themes of destiny, duty, and the moral complexities that come along with war, and while the original had a simple plot due to the limitations of its time, Shadows of Valentia expands upon it beautifully with fully voiced cutscenes and dialogue. Now, when it comes to gameplay, combat remains at the heart of the experience, and it offers a blend of traditional Fire Emblem gameplay and new additions like dungeon crawling that add a fresh layer to the usual formula. During battle, the absence of the weapon triangle, a series staple, was a bold choice but worked out surprisingly well, placing greater emphasis on your unit positioning and strategy, with the use of magic at the cost of HP being another unique twist, requiring you to carefully weigh risk and reward. On top of this, it introduced something known as the turn wheel, which allows you to rewind time and undo your mistakes, and it's an absolute godsend, offering a way to experiment with different strategies without the fear of permanent failure. Overall, Shadows of Valentia respects its roots while embracing modern sensibilities, delivering a rich and rewarding experience for both longtime fans and curious newcomers alike. So if you're on the lookout for a new tactical RPG to jump into, this game offers a journey you won't soon forget. The 3DS was an absolute powerhouse when it came to RPGs, and one of its finest offerings has to be the Bravely Default games, with the second adventure building upon everything that was introduced in the original, that blended classic JRPG elements with modern innovations to deliver an unforgettable adventure. Picking up a few years after the events of the first game, the story follows you, the leader of the Crystal Guard, as he embarks on a quest to rescue Agnes, who played a huge role in the original. What makes the story truly shine though is its balance of light-hearted humour, emotional depth, and surprising twists, and the dialogue is written perfectly with plenty of wit and personality that serves to flesh out all of the characters you meet, as well as the world that they inhabit. Of course, gameplay is where Bravely Second truly excels though, with the battle system remaining one of the series' defining features, with the innovative Brave and Default mechanics taking centre stage once again. The ability to Brave allows characters to take multiple actions in a single turn, while Default lets them defend and store up turns for later. This risk and reward system adds a serious layer of strategy to each fight, demanding that you think several steps ahead of the enemy. The job system is another great inclusion, and with over 30 of them to choose from, the variety is absolutely staggering. Naturally, each of them offer distinct skills and abilities to take advantage of, and experimenting with different combinations is endlessly rewarding. For fans of traditional JRPGs, Bravely Second is a love letter to the genre's golden age, and it captures the magic of classics like Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger while updating the formula and providing one of the best journeys on the 3DS to undertake. Final Fantasy Explorers is basically Square's take on the Monster Hunter series that takes advantage of the franchise's rich history, such as its iconic characters and summons, and blends them with a fresh action RPG formula that became one of the handheld's most underrated gems. Set in the lush continent of Amostra, the game invites you to explore a sprawling world teeming with monsters, dungeons, and legendary creatures, and while the story is a bit on the light side when compared to traditional entries in the series, the game simply simplicity and mission-based structure works extremely well. As I mentioned, the gameplay takes a refreshing departure from its turn-based roots and offers real-time action combat with a huge focus on strategy and teamwork. The different missions you can undertake come along with a nice amount of variety, which can range from collecting items to battling hordes of enemies and taking down towering bosses like Ifrit, Shiva and Bahamut. One of the most appealing things about the game though has to be its job system, which sees up to 20 unique roles to unlock and master, including classics like the Black Mage, White Mage, Dragoon and Monk, where you're free to experiment with different playstyles and find one that suits you best. Of course, they all come along with a distinct set of skills, and having the option to customize your character further with new abilities adds a layer of depth that encourages you to try out new things. A big part of the game though at its time of release was its online multiplayer, which is sadly not active anymore, but with so much to see and do, making your way through it on your own is just as enjoyable. With its extensive customization options, action-packed battles and robust job system, Final Fantasy Explorers is well worth your time. A Link to the Past has long been revered as one of the greatest entries in the Zelda series, and A Link Between Worlds would end up being a sort of spiritual successor, full of new content including characters, story, dungeons and plenty of new gameplay mechanics. One of the most innovative features introduced in the game is the ability to merge into walls as a painting. This mechanic alone opened up a wealth of new possibilities for puzzle solving, encouraging you to think in creative and unconventional ways. As you would expect, the standard Zelda gameplay remains intact and sees you exploring Hyrule as well as its dark counterpart, as you take advantage of a huge range of different weapons and items that make your journey all the more easier. From your trusty sword to your hookshot, bombs and hammer that all have a role to play in not only combat but one of the game's many dungeons and puzzles. Speaking of the dungeons, they are by far some of the best in the series and are filled with clever puzzles, huge bosses and satisfying challenges to overcome. Now from the moment you start the game, the world of Hyrule is beautifully realised, with vibrant visuals that pop on the 3DS screen. The use of stereoscopic 3D is one of the best implementations on the system, adding a lot of depth to each of the environments and making the top-down perspective feel far more immersive than ever before. Whether you're exploring the lush forests, intricate dungeons, or the shadowy realm of Lorule, the game's art style and attention to detail never fails to impress. All in all, A Link Between Worlds is the perfect blend of nostalgia, innovation and engaging gameplay, and remains to this day a must-have for any Zelda fan or anyone looking for an unforgettable action adventure. Well, that does it for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to get notified about new videos which release every Monday and Thursday. You can follow me on all of the socials which are linked below to stay up to date, and also join my growing community on Discord to meet many like-minded gamers to continue the conversation with. I'd like to give a special shout out to my Patreon supporters Rhino, Skill Jim, Shuden, Richard, Amy, Daniel, Dio, Omar, Strider, Pierre, Carl, Awesome Jacket Dude, Maximus, Scott, Alfred, Terry, Ryan, Alex, GameCube Galaxy, Curse Salaryman, Fake and Paddy J for their continued support that helps make these videos possible. If you're interested in joining my Discord or supporting the channel through Patreon, you'll find all of these links down below. As always, thanks for taking the time to check the video out. I'll catch you next time.